Vaughn Nicolas is a former chief of the Tobique First Nation. As a child, he survived the Canadian residential school system, where he witnessed vast amounts of human cruelty and suffering. Can you talk about going to Shubenacadie for the first time?
My dad was working, in the Loring Air Force Base in Maine, and my mom was sick at the time with tuberculosis. She was in St. Basile Sanatorium. There was complaints about him, not being taken properly care of us, because of his drinking. And then eventually the Indian agent at the time and the chief and council heard complaints about my father, and then finally they decided that, they're going to send us to Shubenacadie. We just thought we were going on a trip, and back then there was no highways, and we drove forever. Left here early in the morning, and got there in the pitch of darkness, and then we drove up to this place and seen this humongous building, which, scared us right away, more so my sister Iris. She started crying already. My dad and three of us went into the building, The hallway, there's a hallway there, It was real. Well, the door opened, there was a door opened, and this other nun started coming and walking, And then she was, just the sound of the steps, started freaking me out, You know what I mean? It was like you see in a horror movie, Tuk, 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 It was so quiet, And Iris was getting worse and worse, and I was getting anxious, and my brother Wayne also, And then after my father finished talking to the priest and the nun, he come back to us and told us, you're going to have to stay, here, and Iris started freaking out, trying to get away from the nun's hand and stuff like that, and we started crying, Wayne and myself, and then after my dad said that, he started walking away, and started seeing him leave the building, and that's when Iris was really freaking out, trying to get away from sister, and we're hollering, don't leave us, You know what I mean? After he went out there, the nun took Iris to the girls' side, and the other nun took us to the boys' side, I hadn't seen my sister in a couple of days, because I think they had a hard time with her there at first, Anyway, we were getting ready to have breakfast, right? And the first time I seen Iris, she was coming from the girls' side, and I was coming from the boys' side, like this, And I was so glad to see her. I says, hi, doos and gawk, how are you, and stuff like that, so glad to see her, and wanted to talk to her, and bang, right across the head, He said, don't you be talking to the girls like that. You go over there and mind your own business, So anyway, we were having breakfast, and I was sitting beside my brother Wayne, stuff like that, and then he didn't like the porridge. Not too many people like the porridge there and at the school, and then he started getting sick, and then he vomited, into his porridge and stuff like that, and then the nuns heard him and seen him and stuff like that, and comes over and bang, starts beating on him, and says, you have to finish that, so so he ended up having to eat his own vomit. The church was running, the Catholic Church was running the school in Shubenacadie, and they were getting paid, for each student that arrived there, you know what I mean? But they had to apply the government policies, and then The government policy was take the Indian out of the child, you know, and make sure we don't use our language. I remember one time my brother Wayne, he messed his pants, couldn't make the bathroom. I hear him crying. I see the nun beating on him, for doing that. I went over there and I says to the nun, "He's the best. He's the best. He's the best." So, which is diarrhea. I didn't have the diarrhea in my vocabulary at that time. I spoke my language, and as soon as I started saying that, she heard me speaking Maliseet. Bang, she's beating on me. But anyway, another time, then we get checked. You know what I mean? Checked if we done a good job cleaning ourselves. Takes my hair, stuff like that. Underarms, stuff like that. And then she tells me to bend over. So I bend over. She says, "Spread your cheeks." So I spread my cheeks, and I guess bang, the strap comes up. And well, I had a towel there, but when she told me to spread my cheeks, I had to take my towel off, and you're in front of other kids, right, wide open, It's humiliating, And but the strap comes over, and then bang, bang, get in there and clean yourself properly, So I had to go in there and stuff like that, They weren't ashamed to really humiliate the kids at the school there,
Do you think the nuns enjoyed beating you?
Well, I think they did. You know what I mean? They seemed to like to see kids cry, because there were kids crying every day. You know what I mean? They may not have been me every day, but over time, they're there to maybe just to set an example.
Did any of the girls ever get pregnant by the priests?
I heard that. I don't know that for sure, but I had heard girls had gotten pregnant there, and and the worst thing I heard was that after the baby was born, the nun took the baby and they didn't see the baby again, and I'm hearing that they had put it in the incinerator. And do I have actual proof of that myself? No, I don't. But that's sad, that's a story that's there, and it's a story that I believe myself because of how we were treated there and stuff like that, Well, when I got married, I started drinking. It's been rough. They went through quite a bit with my drinking, stuff like that. Maybe when I was drinking, beating her and stuff like that, and beating the kids. Here's something here. What I learned in residential school is when you listen, you want somebody to listen, you got to beat them. And that's what they do to my kids. My boys, Corey and Vaughn, and then even Bonnie. For them to listen to me, I hit them like I was hit in residential school. I didn't use a little slight slap like that. Come on, behave. And I swung that thing and stuff like that and beat, my kids and stuff like that, And then Corey commits suicide, January 6, 1990. 17 years old. I got his pictures, somebody drew his picture right there. And my other son, Vaughn Jr., the one that hunts with me, he was quite affected by his suicide, and he tried it himself a couple of years later. Cut his wrist. He was having trouble with his girlfriend, or had issues, you know, and then he ended up cutting his wrist. He bled from 4 in the morning till he showed up here at 5 o'clock at supper time. Supper time, I hear the horn out there. And he waved to me. I was on the porch there, right there, and then I went by the car and showed me his wrist. He said, "I'm sorry, Dad." You know, I says, "Pull over." He went to the passenger side. So I drove him down as fast as I could without really getting in trouble with the police, but getting down there, and then they were there waiting for us, and they took him into the emergency room there, and the doctor looked at his hand and looked at him and says, "Somebody's looking after you, young feller." You should be dead with that cut. I mean, I don't know why you're still alive, you know. Just then I said to myself, thank you, God, for not taking my son. My grandson just passed away September 22nd last month, 22 years old. Sudden death, we don't know what happened. Whether it was intentional or whether he got into some bad stuff downstate there with fentanyl and stuff like that, eh?
Do you think it all started with Shuby, like the pain?
Well, yes, it did. I had to, because I don't recall any bad things in my early life, eh? You know what I mean? Before school, I remember laughter, love. You know what I mean? I don't remember any beatings from my mom or my dad. And residential schools don't disappear just like that. They're all done, but the trauma itself, you know, keeps going. You know, keeps going from me, keeps going to my children, and probably their children. You know, it's going to take a while. They had hundreds of years of the church and the government doing their work, you know, to destroy us, and they almost succeeded. But here we are, regaining our lives. You know what I mean, and living through this.